A quiet diner. A person unexpectedly pulls out a handgun and fires pictures at his ex-lady friend. Humans round them dive below tables in a panic. Andy however simply stands there frozen and bewildered. Unexpectedly her mom lunges ahead, tackling Andy to the floor, shielding her together along with her very own frame. The person now in a murderous rage doesn't spare the ex-lady friend's mom. Everyone with inside the diner huddles in corners holding their breath simply as the person is set to depart. An aged gentleman dials 911 by accident, placing the decision on speaker. The silence of the scene amplifies the emergency name, making it relatively loud. Upon listening to it, the person does not hesitate to shoot the antique guy. Then his eyes land on Andy, who seems to be sporting a uniform. Assuming Andy is a cop, the person yells at her, disturbing. She rise up and face him. However, Andy is simply too terrified to talk. It is her mom who bravely steps ahead, blocking off the person desperately, explaining that Andy is not a cop, however only a 911 operator. The person pulls out a knife from his waistband, however the lady blocks it with her bare hand. Her agile actions and extraordinary braveness scream that this lady is no everyday individual. Quickly the police and paramedics arrive at the scene. Andy's mom, drifting inside and outside of consciousness again and again, warns Andy in no way to inform the police something. Andy is absolutely careworn. What mystery is her mom hiding? Why might the police be a hazard to her? Later a detective arrives on the health facility for questioning. Following her mom's commands, Andy offers indistinct solutions to the detective's questions. In the meantime, the information starts reporting at the incident, presenting a pictograph of Andy's mother. Catherine unexpectedly turns into the point of interest of the entire metropolis. Upon seeing this, Catherine right now needs to be discharged from the health facility and moved domestic. Even more surprisingly, she asks Andy to live together along with her former stepfather for the night time and depart Metropolis. Day after today, Andy is utterly confused. Why does not her mom want her to attend to her after being discharged? Why is she sending her away? However, her mom gives no explanation, insisting firmly that she leaves right now on the equal time. At the different facet of the sector, a mysterious guy sees the information and makes a telephone smartphone name. We have got, we're given a trouble. It is her Andy at her former stepfather's residence. After a pep communicate from her former stepfather, Andy makes a decision to comply with her mom's commands and depart for some time. As she's retrieving her motorcycle, her telephone smartphone slips and falls to the floor. Unexpectedly, a shadow seems at the floor. A tall guy is peering through the window, his eyes packed with murderous intent. Andy hides with inside the blind spot, now no longer moving an inch. Quickly the sound of breaking glass comes from the neighboring room. Andy rushes in the direction of the sound, simplest to find her mum's door smashed in. She carefully enters and in just 2 minutes she reveals her mum short to a chair. Andy speedy texts the police, then grabs a vase and smashes it over the intruder's head. Even as he is greatly surprised, she snatches his gun. Andy then reveals a telephone smartphone and automobile keys at the intruder. After gaining knowledge of that Andy has known as the police, her mom palms her pockets. She tells Andy the pockets includes cash, a telephone smartphone and a key card. She instructs Andy to take the intruder's automobile and get away to the metropolis of Carrollton. There at an area known as the warehouse in Unit 320 there is another automobile. Andy is to replace vehicles and drive north immediately to Maine. She's to discover a resort within inside the metropolis of Camden and stay there for the duration of this time. She's now no longer to touch absolutely everyone. Use GPS are looking for assist from her former stepfather or agree with absolutely everyone. Catherine assures her that after it's secure she'll discover her, and so the mom and daughter element methods in a hectic and moved quickly farewell. Andy in tears searches for the intruder's automobile. Here is a crucial element. One of the vehicles has a white air freshener striking internal. Andy eventually reveals the intruder's automobile hidden within inside the timber on account that her mom instructed her now no longer to use GPS. Andy buys a map at a convenience keep. She sooner or later arrives in Carrollton, however cannot discover the precise area of the warehouse. Andy is going to the library to look for the area online, pushed via way of means of interest. She additionally searches for facts approximately her mom however only reveals yesterday's information reviews. Then she recollects the call Paula Cuny which the intruder stated ultimate night time. She searches for that call call. However, there are too many humans with that call and he or she cannot discover whatever associated with her mom. In the meantime, Catherine is at domestic receiving the police. She tells them she may have been overly worried and unsuitable a passerby way of means of for a burglar while she known as the police. Catherine's clarification is affordable and the detective would not suspect whatever. However, then Catherine notices a blood stain at the carpet. She attempts to distract the police, even as subtly diverting their interest away from the ground, but the female officer is suspicious of Catherine's identification. She asks her why she changed into so agile in advance, which would not appear like something a regular lady ought to do. You've got youngsters, detective wise, and if a person threatens your baby you do whatever to guard them because the police are leaving. Catherine subtly covers the blood stain at the carpet together along with her foot, efficiently heading off suspicion. She additionally asks the police to assist her get rid of the newshounds surrounding her residence. Once the police and newshounds are gone, Catherine right now calls her ex-husband over. She then opens the closet and suggests him the intruder. She asks her ex-husband to assist her discover the intruder's touch. It appears her ex-husband is relatively conscious of Catherine's authentic identification. He suggests they need to touch the FBI. However, Catherine says by the point they arrive the touch will probably be long gone and Andy might be in threat. In the event that they locate her listening to that his daughter is in threat, the person does not hesitate and drives Catherine and the intruder to the assembly factor. However, all at once the intruder has a seizure mid-journey. Earlier than Catherine can assist, he bites off his tongue. Catherine frantically asks for the touch's telephone smartphone wide variety. However, their intruder most effective manages to mention he will kill you earlier than death, the lead they were approximately to comply with. All at once vanishes. Catherine rushes into the trees and screams in frustration. Her ex-husband is curious approximately her uncommon conduct. He asks Catherine what is happening, why did they need to harm you now? No longer they simply one man or woman. Andy on the library and hotel. In the meantime, as Andy is set to depart the library, she notices a person suspiciously peeking at her automobile. Right away sensing something is inaccurate, she escapes through the again door. She quickly arrives on the warehouse and reveals Unit 320, wherein the automobile is certainly parked at the floor. It looks like an antique automobile. However, in there may be a handgun sincerely organized through Catherine for breakout. To her wonder, the trunk is full of a suitcase of coins totaling millions. Furthermore, there are a dozen distinct IDs of her mom, every with a distinct coiffure and identification. Who precisely is her mom and why is she hiding her identification so deeply, and who are the human beings chasing her? That night time Andy reveals a hotel to live overnight board. She is going to a bar. The information is reporting at the diner, capturing a lady passing through. Acknowledges Andy at a glance. She methods and asks Andy how she felt on the time. Andy attempts to keep away from her, pronouncing she wasn't worried. The lady indicates her telephone smartphone to a person close by, asking if it is her. However, the guy appears to be assisting Andy and he footwear the lady away. Andy takes a liking to the person with the mustache. Without hesitation she sits subsequent to him, absolutely forgetting her mom's caution now no longer to consider anyone. After getting to know that the person become a soldier, she rapidly asks him to educate her. The way to shoot the person with the mustache may be very appealing to Andy. Andy even exhibits her motel cope with. However, the guy appears calm and does not seem inquisitive about pursuing whatever further. Alternatively, he turns to depart simply. Then Andy notices the air freshener placing in his automobile equal to the only with inside the automobile. Out of doors, her residence. Ultimate nighttime. Andy gets scared and speedy returns to the hotel. She blocks the door with a chair, loads the gun and holds it tightly, staring at the door without transferring. In the meantime, Catherine makes a stunning move. Regardless of looking to keep away from media exposure, she suddenly reveals a reporter ready at the roadside and says she's prepared for an interview. I had to pass national. I need all of us to peer it. Andy holds the gun, guarding the door all night time. With inside the morning, she sees that the guy with the mustache's vehicle is long gone from the parking zone. Andy fast packs her luggage and leaves the hotel with the suitcase of coins and bands. To her, the guy with the mustache is hiding with inside the next room, looking her, fearing her vehicle might have a tracker. Andy walks for for an hour to a used vehicle dealership and buys a second-hand vehicle. As she suspected, the guy with the mustache did region a tracker beneath her authentic vehicle with nowhere else to show. Andy seeks out Charlie. Her mother's maximum depended on pal. She tells Charlie approximately her mother's multiple identities and the tens of thousands and thousands in coins. However, Charlie does not appear amazed, remaining calm. Andy asks if this has something to do together along with her organic father. Her mother by no means cited her organic father, and there is handiest one photo of him in the residence. Charlie says it is impossible due to the fact Andy's organic father died whilst she turned into 2 years vintage. We are going to main. I'll repair you a few eggs. Those easy sentences at once arouse Andy's suspicion. She by no means cited how she were given the whilst Charlie is cooking. Andy secretly examines the room. She notices that the region in which the model plane sits used to keep photo frames. Commencing a drawer, she reveals numerous own circle of relatives images. However, in the front of her own circle of relatives, Charlie continually performed the position of an aged bachelor. Realizing the risk, Andy rushes out and drives away. She then calls her former stepfather. Andy talks non-stop, demanding to understand the reality. However, her stepfather handiest is aware of that. Catherine has a painful beyond now no longer the entire tale. He cannot answer Andy's questions and tells her to wait for him on the close by police station. However, Andy refuses, angrily mentioning that if he does not inform her the reality, she'll locate out herself. In the meantime, Catherine offers an information interview at the floor. She's describing her heroic moves at the day of the taking pictures. However, in truth, she's sending a message to a person. A mysterious guy is looking the stay broadcast. It is time to have a real communication. I assume we are able to locate her due to the fact no person desires to stay with this type of risk. After the interview, Catherine packs her luggage and prepares to locate her daughter. Earlier than leaving, her ex-husband arrives. Catherine learns from her ex-husband that Andy failed to pass north, however is attempting to find the reality. Her ex-husband additionally needs to realize the fact. However, Catherine, now no longer looking to contain him, dismisses him. Andy borrows a pill from a passer-through. After filtering through statistics, she eventually unearths Paulana. The call the intruder cited to her mum. This man or woman is in jail for homicide, so she unearths Paulana's protection. Legal professional. She deliberately spills espresso at the legal professional's bag, using the possibility to thieve the legal professional's ID. In the meantime, the person with the mustache unearths the suitcase of coins in Andy's vehicle. However, he does not thieve it right now. His aim is extra than simply the cash. Andy disguises herself because the layer and enters the jail. She correctly meets Paulana and indicates her all her mum's IDs, asking if she acknowledges her. Upon seeing the photographs, Paulana will become agitated, cursing Catherine. It seems Catherine is the daughter of a rich own circle of relatives and Andy's uncle is strolling for vice president. The fact need to contain some own circle of relatives pursuits. Simply as Andy is at a loss, she notices the person with the mustache following her. Andy quickly drives away. She drives through several streets and hides in an alley. However, the guy with the mustache nonetheless follows her. Who the _ are you and why are you following me? It seems the person with the mustache is a police officer and his challenge is to defend Andy from harm. Andy believes him and that they lease a motel room for the night time. As quickly as Andy falls asleep, the person with the mustache sneaks out and makes a suspicious telephone smartphone call. Yeah, I'm together along with her. She's asleep. Suddenly a big guy breaks into the room and grabs Andy through the neck. Fortuitously, the guy with the mustache arrives in time to prevent him. Whilst they are preventing, Andy rushes out with a vehicle following her. Intently determined, Andy runs right into a dead stop. It is okay, come on. In the meantime, Catherine is intercepted through motors on her manor to locate Andy. She's taken to a secure residence and locked internal. It turns out her mom signed a witness safety settlement with the police. She and Andy are each below police safety. Charlie, the so-known friend, is clearly the pinnacle of the safety operation, and the person with the mustache wasn't mendacity. He is certainly considered one among Charlie's ordinates to depart and locate her daughter. Catherine terminates the safety settlement day after today, resuming her authentic identification with the person with the mustache's assist. Andy eventually meets her uncle. Andy is green with envy of her uncle on degree. The naive Andy does not consider one why her mom hasn't sighted her uncle for 30 years. She does not even suspect that her uncle may be risky. Andy right now exhibits her identification to her uncle, who arranges a non-public room to speak and excludes the guy with the mustache. However, the guy with the mustache suddenly unearths the massive guy who attacked Andy ultimate night. The person with the mustache chases after him, however loses him out of doors. He realizes he's been tricked. Whilst he returns to their reception room, Andy has already been taken away with the aid of using her uncle, leaving most effective a Telecel smartphone that most effective Catherine can contact. Andy wakes up in a mansion for the first time with infinite perspectives out of doors, the window, and a residence so massive it takes an hour to discover. Andy cannot agree with her mom lived in any such massive residence as a baby. She feels just like the air right here is candy to study greater approximately her own circle of relatives records. Andy watches video of her grandfather. She's taken aback to locate that her grandfather turned into publicly assassinated with the aid of using a villain in the course of an interview 30 years in the past. After that, her mum joined the witness safety application. Andy asks her uncle who wanted to kill her grandfather and why her mom joined the witness safety application. Her uncle says the own circle of relatives commercial enterprise entails many stuff, and her grandfather's maverick fashion made him many enemies. The various enemies. Nick is the maximum effective. Even one in every of Andy's uncles is on Nick's facet. As for why Catherine joined the WIP protection program, Andy's uncle is not positive. He does not apprehend why Catherine hasn't contacted him for 30 years. After hearing her uncle's description, Andy finally is aware why her mom is so afraid of the beyond due to the fact she's sporting to a lot. Andy then asks a servant to locate her mom's adolescence videotapes. A complete field is full of Catherine's overall performance films. She in no way imagined her mom turned into a skilled younger pianist to break out the own circle of relatives. She willingly gave up her creative profession to defend Andy. She even used her naked hand to damn a sharp knife. Then the antique butler brings a valuable videotape that allows you to reveal Andy's organic father's identification. In the video, Catherine is a youngster. She fell in love with a forbidden guy, Nick, the chief of the villains who assassinated Andy's grandfather. In the meantime, when you consider that Catherine terminated her safety settlement with the police, the guy with the mustache is recalled to headquarters. His boss asks him to write the entire document. However, midway through the document, Catherine calls the person with the mustache, tells her that Andy has been taken away with the aid of using her uncle. Catherine is right away alarmed. She asks the person with the mustache if Andy left any baggage. The person with the mustache asks what sort of baggage. However, Catherine does not reply. Enjoy tells the person with the mustache that matters aren't that easy. He deletes the document and escapes the police station with the suitcase of cash. He hides in a resort and counts the cash. Simply after completing, he gets a call from Andy. She asks the person with the mustache if he has any data approximately Nick. Andy hesitates and says that her mom and Nick had a relationship, implying that she suspects Nick is her organic father. The perceptive man with the mustache straight away warns her now no longer to mention something. They comply with meet the following morning at a designated area. Andy at her uncle's mansion. Andy reveals her uncle indicates him Nick's pictograph and asks if he is aware of the person. Her uncle shakes his head and says he would not. Then adjustments the situation, announcing they have to have an awesome time seeing that they simply met. However, Andy brings the subject back. She asks if Nick regularly involves the mansion and if her mom is aware of him. Her uncle is straight away shakes his head, announcing it is not possible. He says Nick simplest got here to the mansion as soon as together along with his 2D brother, except Catherine is aware of he is a Satan and would not companion with him. She knocks at the vintage butler's door. The vintage butler would not solution. However, Andy discovers a stunning mystery. We have to meet a day after today morning. Without hesitation, Andy grabs her bag and flees the mansion. Andy and the person with the mustache on the docks. Andy and the person with the mustache meet on the docks. She tells him what she's located these beyond few days. The person with the mustache additionally expresses his suspicions Andy's uncle has planted a mole in the witness safety software. The person who attacked Andy on the resort that night time became one in all Andy's uncle's subordinates. However, his target wasn't Andy. However, her suitcase. The person with the mustache believes the cash is essential evidence. As quickly as he finishes speak, my passer-through bumps into the person with the mustache. Neither of them notices something amiss. The following 2D, the person with the mustache collapses. The person with the mustache tells Andy to run. However, Andy would not go away as a substitute straight away. Acting first useful resource, she simplest leaves after the ambulance arrives. She then is going to the person with the mustache's lodge to retrieve the suitcase of coins. However, she additionally reveals an inner police document. It seems the villains abducted a professor from her grandfather's company. The coins is the ransom from that kidnapping. Simply then a collection of people destroy into the room. Andy hides in the toilet. In reality, seeing the person who attacked her that night time, the men in black take the suitcase and quick go away the lodge to retrieve the suitcase. Andy follows them in her automobile. They forestall at a grocery store to shop for something. Andy secretly locations huge nails beneath their tires. The tires pass flat. Quickly after they force away, they must forestall and extrade the tires. A police officer occurs to invite them approximately their state of affairs. Andy takes the possibility to try and take the suitcase. However, simply as she's approximately to depart, a girl approaches and Andy has to cover with inside the trunk. She simplest escapes from the trunk after the vehicle stops. Out of doors the automobile, the men in black are creating a cope with someone. Andy hides beneath the automobile with the people and the suitcase. After the mistake, mysterious character leaves. Andy crawls out from beneath the automobile. She then gets a name from her mom. Catherine asks her to satisfy at a eating place. Andy finally learns that Nick is her biological father. She questions her mom why she selected to run away, why her uncle is also looking to kill her. Even after Andy finds such a lot of essential clues, Catherine still refuses to inform the reality. She says Nick will in no way allow them to move. The police have been seeking out him for 30 years and have not located him. He is probably lurking close by. She has contacted Charlie for assist. Whilst Catherine cannot persuade Andy, she concurs to speak. However, at the same time as Andy turns her again, she takes the suitcase and slips away. By the point Andy realizes it is too overdue, Andy circulate. I ought to move. Simply wait for Charlie. Whilst Andy wakes up, she's in a dilapidated residence. Andy has a sense of deja vu. Approximately this residence she vaguely recalls residing right here as a toddler. The own circle of relatives of 3 became very glad Nick might sometimes sneak over to peer her. However, now the residence has been abandoned for decades. Andy carefully walks downstairs. She sees a person status in the front of her. Who are you? Your father. With Nick's look, a 30-year-old key is unearthed 30 years ago. Catherine became in her early 20s and already a fame and discern with inside the performing arts. Her father regarded to dot on her. However, in truth he dealt with her as own circle of relatives, showpiece and a decorative vase. He usually made her carry out in the front of dignitaries, and Catherine lived like a puppet without a hint of a grin on her face. At own circle of relatives gathering, Catherine's second brother introduced Nick. Domestic Nick's candy phrases quick gained over the naive Catherine. However, Catherine's father did not like Nick due to the fact he had lengthy suspected Nick became the chief of the villains. He uncovered Nick's true colors at their first assembly. Nick brainwashed Catherine, telling her that her own circle of relatives' commercial enterprise became all approximately oppressing ordinary people and his corporation became the righteous savior. Catherine straight away believed Nick's phrases to prevent gambling the piano. She even injured her hands with a vehicle door. Decided to be with Nick quickly after she had become pregnant with Andy. However, to her wonder, her father secretly positioned drugs in her tea looking to abort the child, which infuriated Catherine. But as time went on, Catherine observed that the so-known as business enterprise become simply a wolf in sheep's garb. They were really a set of terrorists residing a lifestyles of consistent pursuit via way of means of the police. At some point of an operation, Catherine's 2D brother become critically injured. If he wasn't taken to the health center, he would really die. However, Nick, to keep away from exposing their, failed to take him to the health center. At this factor, Catherine noticed Nick's true shades. To store her 2D brother, she secretly took a number of the ransom cash and organized to take him to the health center. To her wonder, there has been additionally an audio cassette with with inside the bag containing a secret communique among her eldest brother and Nick. Tomorrow Catherine determined to record Nick. She concealed the ransom cash and the cassette with the assist of a friend. She secretly took her 2D brother and escaped. However, because of a loss of timely remedy, her 2D brother died within inside their health center, and her heartless eldest brother, to defend himself, really requested Catherine to testify in opposition to her 2D brother and Nick, pronouncing it would assist her clean her call. Catherine stated, "I have a recording of you and Nick conspiring. Now you need to concentrate to me. I'll flip myself in and the business enterprise will be yours. In any other case I'll reveal your crimes." And so Catherine grew to become herself in and served 2 years in jail. Nick sends Catherine a video of Andy sleeping. Catherine straight away takes the evidence and rushes to the cabin. The strange own circle of relatives of 3 is subsequently reunited. Nick straight away searches the suitcase and unearths the cassette in a hidden compartment. Simply as Nick is ready to assault them, Andy knocks over the oil lamp at the desk. Even as Nick is trying to find the cassette, please do not do that. The police arrive in time. The heinous Nick is arrested. Andy and Catherine go back to a non-violent lifestyles. The person with the mustache involves Metropolis to pursue Andy again. Catherine not gadgets to Andy pursuing art.